Hey everyone, this is our weekly podcast where we go over hot topics in the NFL. We are the Football Tailgaters. With me today, I have Yams, our Jets fan, Andy, our unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, a Cowboys fan. In today's hot topics, we're going to talk about Jets and if they're a top 5 AFC team with Rodgers. We got Zeke being frustrated not having signed with the team yet. We got OBJ signing with the Ravens. We got 6 teams who want to apparently trade for Cardinals pick here in the draft. And we got Frank Reich and the front office of the Panthers having some conflict over the number 1 overall pick. So let's start with our number 1 topic. We're going to talk about the Jets here, Yams. Still nothing with Rodgers. Radio silent. Absolutely quiet. So let's talk about, okay, this signing does go through. Let's say it happens in the draft, whenever, right? But it happens really soon. So Aaron Rodgers heads over on a trade to the New York Jets. Are they a top 5 AFC team if they do?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say in particular order, but I would say Buffalo, Bengals, Kansas City, the Jets. That's top 4. And the 5th one for me, I don't know, it could be between, depending how, Denver or Baltimore or Chargers. It just depends on how those teams are, but they're definitely at least top 4 for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I have Chiefs number 1, number 2 Bengals, number 3 the Bills, and number 4 the Jets. And right below them, you can maybe make a case that it should be the Chargers. So I was just thinking the Jets or Chargers should be on number 4. But if they go head to head, I just give it a little bit more to the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers and that defense.
I think they would crack the number 5 because it would be tough. So I think you got the obvious 3-headed monster here. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals, right? After that, it's a little bit more of a closer playing, competitive playing field we got here. But definitely grabbing someone like a top 5 QB, because that's what he is right now, would definitely crack them in the top 5, but we have to see how he meshes well. Again, this is like a similar situation to Russell Wilson. You can't just put a great QB in just any situation and have it work perfectly fine, right? We got to see how it works out. So the difference between someone like the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets is that the coaching staff of the New York Jets is far better than the Denver Broncos, in my opinion. So you got a little bit of of an idea that, yes, this is more likely to work out, and especially something like such as raw talent as Aaron Rodgers, this can be easily a top 3 team if everything does work out perfectly fine.
Just want to say that emphasis, you said a great quarterback with
I
Russell
wanted to
Wilson.
interrupt you. I wanted to interrupt him so bad because he's not. We have already gone
he
through this.
Was, right?
Well,
but now we see his situation in Denver.
And that's how it is in the NFL. Once you just stop being great, he's kind of like, everyone's making fun of him and I feel bad, right? But, this is his last year. In my opinion, this is his last year to prove if he's actually that great quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be his last.
I think so.
But it would hurt him a lot if he does have another downfall year. But going back to the Jets, I still think that Aaron Rodgers is that top caliber quarterback, not like Tom Brady, but kind of the same type of genre in a way. Yeah, of course, a completely different scenario with Green Bay. They've only won 1 Super Bowl. My opinion, that's Green Bay's fault. They should be winning more Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers. So I was looking at what other team can take the place at number 4. You mentioned the Ravens. We don't even know if Lamar Jackson's going to play for them this year. He might sit out. With the Chargers, they go into the playoffs and then they get kicked out. Or they don't go into the playoffs at all, even though I have mad respect for
new
Herbert.
New coach for the Chargers.
They don't have a new coach. It's the same head coach.
The OC.
They haven't done a new
OC.
OC.
I'm sorry, the new OC from
Kellen Moore. Yeah,
right.
exactly. So we don't know how that's going to be playing out. We just know that Aaron Rodgers has so much talent and so much experience that it'll be very interesting to see how he's going to mesh with so many new players with the Jets.
It will be interesting to see. And also the difference between Denver Broncos and the Jets, being that they are going to have some road bumps. The Jets, they brought Nathaniel Hackett, so they brought an old system that he is familiar with. And with the Russell Wilson, if they would have brought in someone like he had success, maybe like, what's his name, Stoudemire?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone like him to run the offense, he might have had the same success that he had at Seattle. So it's completely two different stories here because they're bringing the same system for Aaron at the Jets with Nathaniel Hackett. They also brought in the quarterback. He had the backup quarterback in Green Bay, Tim Boyle, something like that. They also brought in Alan Lazard. Who knows what else, right? It's not over.
You're going to have some irrational opinions from fans, though, because of what happened with Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. People are going to be pretty worried, but you got to realize that it's a completely different situation when you're a head coach to when you're just a coordinator.
I was extremely worried when they hired Nathaniel Hackett.
Well,
look at the whole Dan Quinn situation.
Yeah, you can say Dan Quinn, but I was actually going to say Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels had Tom Brady as the quarterback for the Patriots, and they won Super Bowls and all of that stuff. Then Tom Brady leaves to the Buccaneers, and now he had Mac Jones. Did they do that well? He also had Cam Newton. Did they do well? No, they didn't. Now he's a head coach with the Raiders, and now we can see how he's struggling. Now, with Nathaniel Hackett, it was the coordinator for Aaron Rodgers. Now, is it the thing that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are just that good that just makes the coordinator look good? And then once they leave, they're just not as good how they seem to be.
Well, we can't really see that because he went straight into a head coaching job. What happens when he doesn't have someone like Aaron Rodgers as an offensive coordinator?
Well, we just saw that with Russell Wilson.
No, but he was a head coach in Denver. Completely different situation. I don't care what you say. It's a head coach situation is a lot more pressure than an OC.
Yeah, I guess we just saw that with the Cowboys. Since McCarthy's going to be taking the reins for the play call and Kellen Moore was his own thing, I guess I can see that the coordinator just takes control, which still kind of baffles me a bit. I mean, if you're the head coach and you want the coordinator to do it in a certain way, right? I guess each team is different. Maybe all teams are more similar to this, that the coordinator just takes advantage of everything. But I mean, we as fans, we don't know exactly what goes into the office. The closest thing that we get to is, I don't know, probably Hard Knocks. And I remember a season when it was the Cleveland Browns when Hugh Jackson was the head coach for the Browns. He had all of the coordinators sitting down, and we had Haley, I believe Todd Haley, as the offensive coordinator, telling him we need to make these changes. And Hugh Jackson was like, I'm the one that is steering this ship, and this is the way that I want things. And period.
Look where he's at now.
Look where he's at now. Exactly. Even though it was the wrong things to do or the wrong choices, and Todd Haley might have been right, but look what happened. So each team, it works differently, and I guess we'll just see.
Let's head on over to the next topic here. A quick topic with Zeke Elliott. Now that he's a free agent, he got let go by the Dallas Cowboys. Now that they seem to be preferring Tony Pollard, and who knows, they might draft Bijan Robinson, hopefully, if he's available. Zeke Elliott hasn't been signed yet by a team. What's going on there? What do you guys think?
Unfortunately, running backs in the NFL are a dime a dozen that you can move on from them pretty quickly. If I was the NFL union, I would change things in contracts or for teams for these players to take more of acknowledgement to them and be able to pay them better. Look what happened with Eckler. He wants to move out of the Chargers to get a better deal, but nobody's asking for him because you can get another running back. Build that offensive line, and you get a decent running back, and they'll do really well. So, unfortunately for Zeke, that's the consequences.
Yeah, I definitely feel that he was between the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Jets. And he says he was going to make this decision soon. I feel like that was more of a wish list than actually teams seeking to hire him. I'm pretty surprised that he is not landing on a team. He did a pretty good job with Tony Pollard. Maybe, that 1-2 punch. He was there at the 1 yard line, kind of similar to Jamal Williams at the Lions. So I'm kind of surprised because he's, he can push through people. Yeah, I'm surprised he's not signed.
It's pretty obvious because you're seeing a steady decline here in his stats of his efficiency. He's turning into all right, we gotta bring him in to get these 2 yards. That's pretty much it. Maybe he's asking for too much money. That's what it is, and not every team is going to be willing. I'd rather take Jamal Williams, like you just said, who's not going to – I guarantee you that Zeke Elliott is asking for more money than what Jamal Williams is going to get. So, completely different situation, but it's the same player. It's what it is at this point. After he signed that contract, it's just been a steady decline, and it sucks because I think he's a great person, great player, was not anymore, and it's just over with. It was a good thing that they just let him go, because I don't think a lot of teams were willing to give up almost anything for him, and I think they were just desperate to free up some of that cap space.
I think if you ask if you ask Dallas Cowboys fans about Zeke Elliott, I'm sure a huge percentage of them would be happy to move on from him. And that kind of says a lot to the type of player that he is right now. Fortunately, it looks like his knee is not doing well for the last few years.
His knee. Okay.
No, look at if you watch the games, obviously, he does not have that same speed he did back in like 2016 when he was first year.
And hurdling over players as well.
Yeah, like he was hurdling players. He was a highlight reel. Now he's not. It's completely different. Now he's just kind of weighing it down, and we're not going to pay you that much money for just being someone who's like a third down back when we're trying to get a couple yards here.
I mean, it's true. It's obviously true. He's not living up to his contract. He's not living up to the way he used to play, and maybe before the knee. But he's still a good option. Maybe he shouldn't be asking this much for his contract. I don't know.
It's an OBJ situation here.
Yeah, but look at OBJ and what do you get? We'll get to that. But yeah, same thing. Jamal Williams, he's like a 1 yard line. Let's go ahead and just put you on there, and he does well in that. And he'll give you the touchdowns, and touchdowns are very important in the NFL, especially when it comes down to a game. So yeah. I don't know, guys. I think it's kind of, he might be asking too much, correct? But right. He's still a good running back for those situations. And
he's still a good blocker. Man, taking off that last play of the season, crazy play. I don't know, why would you do such a thing? Ask for a timeout, man. Even take a penalty and time delay, all of that stuff. You don't put Zeke Elliott as the snapper. I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. That play was obviously the only option they had. That was the only thing they had left, and that's why Kellen Moore is no longer there.
What?
Let's talk about
wait.
OBJ.
Before we move on, there is a running back that has an issue right now, Joe Mixon. Isn't it? Didn't he just get charged with?
It was the same problem that he had, like an assault type of charge. It came back because new evidence came out.
But then he got charged with it.
He got charged again with it, yes. So he might be, I don't know what's going to happen to him this season. But, last point about Zeke. He is just going to have to wait until after the draft. After teams draft their running backs and they get situated with the running back situation, he might even have to wait until training camp to see if there's running backs that fall down and then they call for him. And he should wait. If he wants his money, then he should just wait and hold off.
He'll have a team, and I have a feeling it might be the Bengals, especially with Joe Mixon and whatever's going on. He might not even be a Bengal in 2023.
Really? If it goes through, right? I mean, I haven't really kept up with the news about that. I didn't even know about that.
No, it just came out recently, so we really don't know what the circumstances are. If it was dismissed,
he could be gone
in the second time, and we don't know what's going to happen. Then
Zeke can totally take over that position, and it would be great for them.
Well, no, Mixon is the first running back. But Elliott is not the second.
But if something were to happen with the charge that.
But Zeke is not the caliber running back to be a 3-down running back anymore.
No, I know, but you pick up what you can. But then I don't know. I think that gives Zeke Elliott a big leverage. It depends when it signs and what happens with that whole thing. Like, it's all way too soon to tell right now.
Yeah.
But as of now, he has no team, and it is what it is. Let's go over OBJ now that we mentioned him. He officially now has a team, and he has a 1-year, $15 million deal from the Ravens. It can be worth up to $18 million if I'm not wrong. Odell Beckham is now on the Ravens. Is this a good move?
Well, he clearly chose the wrong team if he's trying to run for the Super Bowl like the Jets are trying to do. And he's obviously just chasing the money. I mean, I can't blame him. He wanted $20 million, reportedly denied, and then he got 18. So congratulations, you got close to what you were wanting.
Yeah, for sure. I see that Odell Beckham is just trying to get as much money as he can before his ACL runs out again. He already had like 2 ACL surgeries. And for that type of player, of course, the Ravens were going to be the only one to pick him up. All the other teams were not going to be crazy enough to sign him for a $15 million guaranteed contract.
This goes back to all the way, me as a Cowboy fan, it just proves that the Cowboys made a great move here in this offseason by getting Brandon Cooks. Absolutely fleecing the situation. I guarantee you that it would not have worked out with Dallas. Asking way too much money, and you get someone with far better talent. He's going to last you longer than OBJ. Far better situation here for the Cowboys. And as for the Ravens here, this is a move of like, okay, dude, you want all this money? Well, we can't really get you all the talent that you want, so this is the best thing we can give you. There's only so much you can do. There's only so much money. He's asking for an absurd amount of money. That is going to ruin the whole cap space situation. If you want some wideouts, we need some cap space. Come on, give a little space. But right now, it doesn't seem to be that case. So this is kind of like this is the best we can give you. And I don't know. This kind of seems like almost they're dissing Lamar because, yes, OBJ is great when he's healthy. But we all know what's going to happen. It's not going to be as good as it seems like on the surface. It's just going to crumble all apart for the Ravens, and Lamar is going to be out.
This could be a very petty move for the Ravens. And
very petty.
Just to show Lamar's like, look what happens when you get representation.
Exactly.
You get the money paid. You continue having your mom as your representative. And look, you're not even getting paid. And who knows, when are you going to get paid? That's what happens.
It could be a petty move, but also it could be a move where they bring Lamar Jackson back to the negotiation tables. Like, look, we got you some help. We got you OBJ. And like you said,
for 1 year, though. And the guy got an absurd amount of money for what he's actually worth. They're not going to re-sign him. He's going to want more. It's just not worth it. Unless he injures himself again. And he's like, well, yeah, I guess I'm just not worth that much. And then he actually goes for less. It's over. It's a dead dream here with the Ravens and Lamar. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's going to be there. It's just done. The bridges are burned, and this is definitely a petty response to the whole contract negotiation talks that they just can't seem to get anywhere close to being done.
It is pretty interesting. I've never seen anything like this, that a big-time player as Lamar, a quarterback caliber, top-tier quarterback, has his mom being his agent and is just going and fighting against his team, and he wanting to be traded, but he can't be traded, and so now he's tagged. Is he going to play? And if a team wants him, they have to give 2 first-round picks plus the money that he wants. I mean, he can be petty too and just say, just trade me. But the problem is, let's just say that he takes way less money. Let's say not 250, not 225. Let's say 175. The Ravens can be like, boom, we'll match it. You're stuck with us, buddy. How uncomfortable is it for Lamar just to keep with this team and with all of this mess that has been going on?
There's way too much drama, and it just seems like a very uncomfortable situation. And if I was him, I would just want out at this point. The bridges are burned. It's done. It's over with.
Yeah. You got to talk with the team and say, don't match it, dude. I don't want to play here. It is what it is. Let's let's cut our ties, and I'm moving on. Don't match it. If you match it, I'm not playing here.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a whatever year amount of time free.
Yeah.
But I have to. I'm not playing here. Deshaun Watson was an example for other quarterbacks, and that's maybe what is happening here. Deshaun Watson told the Houston Texans, I don't want to play here. I'm not playing. I'm sitting out. And even with his with his law issues that he had with court and everything,
rape,
and he got a $250 million guarantee contract. If other quarterbacks see this happening, they're like, damn, I want a piece of that. So I don't blame the players for doing it. I wouldn't be doing it personally because, I mean, business is business, and business is gonna adapt to different things, and they're not gonna just fall through your demands. So we'll see.
Right.
It's definitely going to be really weird for them. And Lamar Jackson is 1 year younger than Watson, so can't see why the deal can't be done. OBJ reportedly called the Jets right before the $18 million contract was offered to him to see if the Jets would be able to up it. And since Joe Douglas does not take advantage or doesn't want to be taken advantage of contracts, he said no. So I guess the Jets dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Let's go over another dysfunctional situation here with the Arizona Cardinals. There's a report by Adam Schefter on Twitter saying that at least 6 teams have inquired with the Arizona Cardinals about trading up for the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Should the Cardinals trade that pick?
I wouldn't. just because I have a high standard for Jalen Carter coming out of Georgia. He's a big-time menace in college, and I think he's going to do really well in the NFL. The only team I would trade with is the Colts if they want to trade up just one position higher, and which is take their spot, and then the Cardinals just move one down. And that way the Colts can get their quarterback, and these guys can still solidify and pick their defensive player.
Yeah, I agree. If the team they're trading up with, like Andy just said, it's not with the Colts and it's not for a quarterback, I wouldn't give it up. I mean, their organization is a mess, and they definitely do need a good player out of this draft. If anything, it has to be a team that's driven for a quarterback and not to go down so much.
Unless there's a team that's just crazy enough to give you like 3 first-round picks, then sure, of course.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cleveland.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what team would be willing to give 3 for Richardson. So I'm assuming it would be Richardson at the 3rd.
You know, it's an interesting situation because Arizona has a bunch of question marks. You know, there's rumors that Hopkins is gone and the whole dysfunction with Kyler Murray. And then you just had the whole disaster with Cliff Kingsbury gone now. It's definitely something that they have to be very careful. And I don't think if it were to happen, a trade for this number 3 overall pick, it won't happen until I think on the draft day. And that's because they probably thought it over very well, and this is a direction they want to go to. Now, the conservative pick here is I think they're keeping that pick to see the whatever they can get is available. But I wouldn't doubt if there's maybe a team that is willing to give up too much. Maybe they're desperate. Who that team is, I don't know yet. We'll see. Maybe it's just a quick switch, maybe like a Colts situation here. We don't know yet, but I think there's a team desperate out there maybe that'll slip up and give too much.
The Colts.
I can totally see that happen. It's happened before.
Well, I don't know about the Colts, but I mean, we have had examples like that. Look at the Bears when they traded up for so many picks to get Trubisky. Look at the 49ers that they gave so much to get Trey Lance. It is a huge possibility. So only if it's a crazy deal, then I would take it. If not, then just pick Carter up or trade with the Colts.
Isn't Colts? Oh, I thought Colts was higher. Colts is number 4.
Yeah, and Cardinals are number 3. So
yeah, there's no reason to do that trade at all.
Well, for the Colts, yeah. If
they want a quarterback,
only
the
if
Colts
they
are going to want to get a quarterback.
Right. So if the Colts,
why would you trade that?
If the Colts are afraid that another team is calling to get that wants to trade with the Cardinals,
right.
That's the only way. You know what I mean? You want to solidify that third.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Maybe the Falcons. I don't know.
Dude, if I was the Cardinals and the Colts call me and they tell me, I'll give you my second round, I'm taking it. Like, I mean, I would ask for more, right, than that second round, of course. But if they don't not offering me another first round, I wouldn't, like, be too hurt about it. I'll be like, sure, and take your quarterback, and I'm going to still get my player, and I get another second round. I wouldn't be, like, super, super greedy.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. So the Colts are in a predicament.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, this is better for the Cardinals then, because they have a lot of good options on the table, even though right now their situation is absolutely terrible because there's so many question marks. Are they even capable of going into the playoffs anymore? Like, what's going on here? They had a terrible last season, and now they got to figure out to see if their new head coaching staff can actually start fixing this. And what's going on? Are they going to have to blow it up? Are they going to have to make some big trades here? What? We don't know.
This falls completely with the Colts. You said there's 6 teams that are interested for the Cardinals pick. So the Colts are right now nervous and saying, like, man, one of these teams wants to get this other quarterback. Maybe we have to make the decision here now, not until draft day, just to solidify that 3rd round pick.
Third
overall.
It's only interest because there hasn't been an offer made. It doesn't say that there's an offer made. It only says that they have inquired, like, hey, like, what's going on? I don't, because unless that's what it means. I guess inquired is just like, they've shown offers to each other. I don't know.
Well, this report came like a few days ago, so we'll maybe see, just to put on a little bit more pressure, if there is an offer on the table.
From
Yeah.
what I was reading, it looks like the team rumored to trade with Arizona that's most interested is Tennessee Titans.
They need their quarterback, and I don't blame him.
They have the number 11 pick overall.
It's the same situation with the 49ers, man. And they traded up super high to get Trey Lance, and it can be this exact same situation.
Yeesh. Yeah.
I don't see from what I've seen in the drafts previously, I don't see when a team trades up and gives so much that it works out. And recently, I mean, I just gave you great examples with Trey Lance and Trubisky. It doesn't work out. Also, the Washington Commanders, they traded up really high to get RG3 as well. And they gave up so much, and look how that played out.
Well, it played out well because they got a backup quarterback in the same draft, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but that was a whole
Lucky.
different mess. Yeah. No, yeah, and I don't know. I just figured Kirk Cousins was going to be better than RG3, and that looks like how it played out. But look at the Colts when they got Andrew Luck, and look at how the Jaguars, what they did in order to get Trevor Lawrence. Unfortunately, we don't like tanking, but it seems like that's what happens to just solidify, and you don't have to give so much up.
Let's shift over to the Panthers now and their situation here. We got a front office and coaching staff, or it could just be Frank Reich, the head coach. But there's some disagreement. There's some disagreement in who they should draft number 1 overall. Now we got a weird situation because the front office seems to be very keen on C.J. Stroud, but Frank Reich has made his clear favorite quarterback in this draft, Anthony Richardson. So should the Panthers front office cooperate with Frank Reich here?
They should, in a way, because as an organization, you have to have your head coach's plan according to his strategy, the type of quarterback that he needs. And if he thinks Richardson is a great quarterback for his strategy, then of course you have to take it into account. But I've seen so many situations when GMs are just going to do their thing because their jobs are on their line. So they're going to be selecting their quarterbacks that they believe. I just mentioned a situation with the Commanders years ago with RG3 and Kirk Cousins. The front office, they wanted RG3, big time name, and the head coach wanted Kirk Cousins, and they drafted both. I don't know why, right? I mean, the GM has to be the one putting the name on the card whenever they're going to draft the player, but they selected both.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation to be in. I would just go with, I guess, vote. Who should we draft?
Because that's a horrible idea.
Because
coin flip. Do a coin flip.
Because it's really hard. No, well, honestly, look, Stroud is obviously a more safer pick in my opinion, and I like Richardson. I think he's a freak athlete, and he might be even better at some point, right? But he's a project, and
so is Bryce Young.
But I would just go with the safer pick. So yeah, I would probably follow what the GM wants. He's my boss.
So the person who reported on this said that they're told that Frank Reich, if he had his way, would go with Anthony Richardson because of the upside, because of what Anthony Richardson could be 2 or 3 years down the road. It's just a matter of how much of a fight is Frank Reich, is going to put up in that war room. So it seems like it may seem like he may want to really, really push for this pick for Anthony Richardson. Now, I think this should definitely be of a consideration of some fairness here and hearing out the coaching staff on why they think and give their reason and convince them, right? Because ultimately it comes down to the front office. But how much leeway are you going to give this coaching staff that you just got off because of what just happened previously with your other coaching staff, right? Are you going to trust them? It's really early on, so you're putting a lot of faith. If I'm the front office, this is a big risk putting my faith in this coaching staff that I just got here.
Especially how it went down with the Colts, exactly. And if I was Frank Reich, I would be like, you brought me here for a reason. Well, you just think I'm just going to coach whichever quarterback you just put forth me, and I'm just going to bring the best out of him just like that? I would assume that it's a big thing if you're going to bring Frank Reich to actually discuss the situation with the draft because when they hired him, I'm sure they had this conversations. You don't have a quarterback right now. I think this was, I'm not even sure if Sam Darnold was still there or not, but they didn't have a quarterback. They had a no quarterback. So they need to, I'm sure that they spoke about the plan for the future. And I would assume if Frank, to protect his career, he's going to want to know what's going to be my quarterback for the future. Well, now they solidified the first overall pick, and now they should figure out what the plan is, including Frank Reich with the strategy.
I'm pretty sure they have a plan in place, right? You don't solidify a first round pick if you don't already have a quarterback in mind. So who knows if this report is true? Maybe he could just be talking. Richardson is someone I like that has like a ceiling of 2 to 3 years. But as a team collectively, as with the GM, it's Stroud is the guy. I feel like that's what's going on. They already know who they want. They wouldn't have traded up for the number one without someone already in mind.
Yeah, there's in that same report it says that Reich is hoping for a collaborative building in this with this team that they have here. So they are definitely going to argue it out, and I think ultimately it's going to come down to, like I said, the front office. I think it's more likely that they will get CJ Stroud because there's going to be some kind of convincing that they're going to do in there that the GM is just going to make that decision and get CJ Stroud.
Why not
And
Bryce
Reich
Young, though?
Because he's short.
I don't know. I guess so, because there's no talk about him on that.
What I read
about it, I mean, he's good. No?
What I read about him is that he's the most NFL ready quarterback out of all of these guys. But the problem is that the other guys have a potential to be even greater, but it's just gonna take longer to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But ready, like to start year one, is Bryce Young, supposedly.
Well, in the situation that the Panthers have, they're in no rush to win now. In my opinion, they're in no rush to win now.
It is completely a rebuild. I do agree with that.
Yeah, look at their roster.
But there's a definition here for rebuild. When fans and people start saying, well, they're in a rebuild, everybody has a different definition on it. For me,
well, no, there's different, I guess, phases of rebuild. There's the like straight from scratch, like you're just full on committing to the draft here. And then there's somewhere it's like we got some young talent we just can get some through the free agency trades and stuff like that. That would be somewhere around like phase 2. And phase 3 is like, all right, this is pretty much, we just need to make like a few good moves and we're set.
Well, where does the Panthers fall into that? For me, it would be phase 1.
I think it's phase 1.
Yeah, but
so why would you get what's his name? Bryce Young.
Well, I'm not saying that they should get Bryce Young. For me, it would be CJ Stroud because the Bryce Young situation.
No, yeah, but you brought up that question of
why not?
Why aren't
Bryce
they
Young?
Considering? Yeah, because they're in phase 1 of rebuilding.
Right. No, definitely. But even though they get CJ Stroud and even Bryce Young is the quarterback, the NFL quarterback ready player, I still think that with CJ Stroud. Man, I just lost my train of thought here.
But you see, Bryce Young has Nick Saban as his coach, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't he projected to be number 1 if Nick Saban is one of the best coaches in college?
Well, look what happened with Mac Jones. And he's under Bill Belichick. When we all think that Bill Belichick is like the greatest NFL coach
right,
out there,
and then
right?
they say that Frank Reich is also a quarterback whisperer, right?
What happened? He didn't whisper so well to
Matt
Matt.
No, he didn't. So
Matt Ryan.
I wouldn't have my faith in Frank Reich. Maybe he's lost his touch,
Or
and
Carson
it's okay.
Wentz.
And that's okay. Coaches lose their touch. So
And they're gonna bring that up in that war room.
Yeah, for sure.
If it gets really tense to some degree or whatever, if they really want to bring out like the receipts, the trust here is gonna go more towards the front office, man, because of I think you're. I don't know.
I remember what I was gonna say
something
with my
stupid.
train of thought here with the rebuild thing. Even though it's a rebuild and you get CJ Stroud, you still have to show some potential that it's gonna go into a good future. So after year 1, if you don't see any, like each year, you have to show that you're getting better and better. If it's still stagnant from year 1 to year 2, then you're doing something wrong. And even in year 1, when you draft this quarterback, and maybe the quarterback is just awful, just like what we saw with well, I'm not going to say Zach Wilson type of thing because he got injured in this first year and his second year. But then in the second year, we all said, yeah, it was pretty bad. So
and now his third year, he's being replaced by Tim Boyle.
And third year, he's being replaced. Exactly. I think that's just another type of scenario. But it could happen that you draft a quarterback, he's just terrible, awful. So, and that falls on who? The GM, not the head coach.
On both of them.
Yeah, on both of them. But
well,
who more,
it falls on whoever has been making the decisions lately.
Yeah, we don't know if Robert Saleh wanted to draft another quarterback. And
right. Well, it's really hard. The quarterback is the hardest position to fill. And then they come into the NFL and it's just a completely different story.
Yeah.
It's time we stop using, maybe I'm ranting now. It's time we stop using like generational talent. We should stop comparing them to Josh Allen because they're completely different. And when it comes to the NFL, they give you a different story every single time. And especially if they go to a trash team that's in the rebuild mode, they're going to play horrible. Majority of the time.
From my knowledge, it's always been a thing, and I don't think it's fading away anytime soon because you need some form of reference to these players. You need some idea because it's not just like you gotta resemble someone at some point. Unless like if we're talking about generational talent, it's like wow, we can't really compare this to anyone, and then that's a big deal because if you're comparing someone, like yeah, that's a great player, whatever it is. Like if you're getting compared to someone, I don't know, like great in the past, but
for the most part, all first overall picks, they do have a little bit of success, even though if it's 1 year or two. Take off. Even Baker Mayfield went to the playoffs with the Cleveland Browns. So all of these first overall picks, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, not Carson Wentz. We can go on and on and on.
Well,
and usually they do have some success, so it is pretty important because these quarterbacks are very similar. That nobody's like jumping off the page.
So maybe a little off topic here. What has Frank Reich shown to have earned another head coaching job? From what I remember, the Colts were always they weren't good.
No, when he moved to the Colts, he actually went to the playoffs with Phillip Rivers.
So that he had Phillip Rivers, but after he left?
After Phillip Rivers, it went downhill because he got Carson Wentz because he worked with him in Philly.
Right.
And we all saw how Carson Wentz is. Even I was a believer of Carson Wentz when in his first year. He was tremendous. And I guess like a lot of people are saying, which I'm part of that team of those people right now, is that Frank Reich's troubles in the Colts is not 100% his fault. I put it more on the ownership, on the type of situation that was going on there, that he couldn't fully develop his own way of his own team.
Phillip Rivers was only 1 year, wasn't it? Was it 2?
I believe it was 2.
It was 2 successful years with Frank Reich?
I believe so. I'm not 100% certain.
And when he took over that team, it was already a built team. Then it slowly started to...
Again, the quarterback does a lot of help there.
There's got to be some kind of like cool like statistic of the number 1 overall being a quarterback and how successful that is. From what I can see, I would say that's mainly not true. I don't think it's always successful. I think it's more of a fail than a success most of the time. Maybe like a 60-40 type of situation.
Well, okay, now you define success though.
Well, you have good amount of winning seasons with this quarterback.
Cowboys.
He produces good stats and you can eventually, I mean, obviously you got to go to the Super Bowl. That's like what it is, right?
Right.
That's what you call a successful. But what he just described reminds me of the Cowboys. Always winning games, always making the playoffs.
No. But the stats are not there. Dak Prescott, he led the league in interceptions last year. That's not successful. I'm sorry.
No, and he's a 4th round pick. We're talking about
he's a 1st round pick.
We're talking about first overall. So
that's so true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Completely different situation. No, it's just Baker Mayfield. Is that successful? He went to the playoffs.
Well, he did take the Browns to the playoffs, which they haven't been there for so long. I would say it's sort of successful. I mean, he did better than Sam Darnold. And
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl.
Bowl. Yeah. And now look where he's at. He doesn't suck.
No, he doesn't.
But now he's with the Lions, and he's not deemed like someone like Aaron Rodgers.
Look at Joe Burrow. went to the Super Bowl, and it went to another AFC championship.
It's a little bit too early to tell still. Give him like 1-2 years.
No, that's success.
And then we can figure out like, it's success. Like he's a great quarterback, but like what if he doesn't do anything afterwards?
I still consider it a success because he took you to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I still consider
so
the whole point.
So
is
the
to
margin
go to
here
the Super Bowl.
is which I think it's for everything, every team.
Well, playoffs. Even if your quarterback that you get in the first overall pick takes you to the playoffs, I still think that is successful because he took you there to the playoffs, and even though they expanded it, I still think it's still a success.
So the last quarterback that was drafted here, number 1 overall, was all the way back in 2021. With Trevor Lawrence, and we still yet to, I think, consider that a success. I think it's something still in progress, and they're building upwards. They're trending.
Well, they went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, exactly. They went to the playoffs.
Success.
I thought you said the success is the Super Bowl, right?
No.
It really goes back to them being able.
Super Bowl for me is if he takes you to the playoffs, that means he is a type of successful quarterback that can take you there.
But only in the first round.
Not only that, but like you gotta account for like how
overall.
he plays too, because he can get carried by a team and be an average quarterback, but he could just be good enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dude, like, is that something that you would still credit to him, even though it's an average quarterback with average stats? But the team overall goes to the playoffs?
Of course, there's scenarios, but if that happens, like a Jimmy Garoppolo, that he's being carried by the team, then of course, yeah, you tend to move on. But it has to be completely 100% obvious. But if he still does some throws and everything, I mean, if you get Jimmy Garoppolo, first overall pick, and he went to the Super Bowl and went, I believe, to the NFC Championship again with Jimmy Garoppolo, I still consider it a success. He is a successful quarterback. He took you where you wanted to go.
Whether he's still great, whether he has great talent is something else, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, there's quarterbacks.
And I think this is what we're seeing kind of here with CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. We're seeing Anthony Richardson deemed as like he's got extreme talent if developed correctly in 2-3 years. And he's got a super high ceiling compared to CJ Stroud, based on what Reich is saying. So we'll have to see until draft day.
We don't even know. It could be even.
We don't even know exactly.
Levis. It could be him.
Yeah, a lot of the times there's a quarterback that's picked in the middle of the first. Yeah, in the middle of the first or end of the first round, and he's the one that just destroys the NFL league.
So what are your guys' closing thoughts?
I think I vented enough. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Yeah, we're going to end it here. I think that was good enough. Thank you guys to those who made it to the very end. Thank you guys for listening, and we'd love to see you guys on our socials to give us your opinion. And our socials are football_tailgaters on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks.